What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of In the Studio Live. First of all, I should probably apologize because I missed like the last 3 weeks or so. It's been crazy. I got a lot of exciting stuff coming out soon. I can't wait to announce, but I can't talk about that quite yet. But tonight we're going to have an interview, so I'm not going to be in the studio per se, but I get to pick the brain of one of my favorite people in the whole world, Ben Johnson. He has been crushing it in the audio community recently, and I can't wait to share some of his experiences and some of the things he's taken away working with some of the top producers out there in the rock and metal world. So I want to also mention this is an interactive live show. So if you have questions, get on that chat room or the chat feature. Send in your questions, interact with us live. This is a two-way dialogue. So Ben and I will see your questions and comments. So feel free to be yourselves and interact. Or if lurking's your thing, that's cool too. Just sit and chill. That's all good. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Bobby Balo. I'm the mixing and mastering engineer at Rayton Productions. And if you want to connect with me offline, I also have an awesome Facebook community called the Home Studio Fast Track. And that's a place where you can go meet other music creators and learn to level up your music. So I help you with your mixing and mastering questions, and we have a bunch of awesome people in there. So definitely check that out. Again, it's called the Home Studio Fast Track. So, but before we bring our guest in, if you've seen a show before, you know that I'm always drinking a beer during this. So I have a really cool beer tonight. This one is again by the local brewery here in DC. There we go. DC Brow. It's called Your Pet Cow. It is a Jameson barrel aged milk stout. It's either going to be amazing or it's going to be pretty disgusting. We're going to find out though. And with that, I want to cheers to you guys for hanging out with me, and let's bring in my homie, Ben Johnson. Ben,
what's up? What's up?
what is good, man? Welcome to
Nothing
the
much,
live
man.
show.
How's it going, man? Dude, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. So Ben's also drinking a beer with me tonight. So what's your choice? Are you going
I went
milk stout? What are we talking? IPA?
No, I go IPA, but I went local flying fish. It just looked cool. Hot fish, flying fish.
So
Lot of fish.
that's a New Jersey beer? Right? You're in New
Yeah,
Jersey
it's
right
from
now.
it's a local New Jersey beer. So why not go? I'll support local.
Yes, man. So when I first met you, you lived in Orlando.
Correct.
And right? So you've been like all over the US pretty much. Like in like the last 2 years. You just keep jumping around, man. You're getting all these amazing gigs.
Yeah, been in Texas, all over the place. We were hanging in Vegas. We were hanging at NAMM before the world shut down.
Yeah.
Now Jersey. Now, I packed up shop from Orlando and moved up to Jersey.
So yeah, they're full time working with Will Putney, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Man.
No, it was an awesome opportunity. A thing I could not turn down. So I was just like, you know what? It's just, he offered a spot. So I'm up here working as his assistant, and, moved up here January 1st, been able to work alongside with him and already working on some records that he's doing and just getting to learn from the best.
Dude, it's so amazing. So I think it's important. So there's a lot of people that watch the live stream. They're up and coming, mixing, mastering engineers, producers, a lot of people playing bands. And I'm curious, I want to hear about like your journey, starting from, like maybe 2 years ago. It was probably only 2 years ago. You had a day job doing the mixing and mastering thing, like on the off hours of your day job, and now you've gone full time working with Will. You've worked with Andrew Wade. You've worked with Machine. Like, can you walk us through that journey? Like,
I know the last 2 years, that was when I went music full time, but this starts like when I was like a kid. I played in bands. I've, been playing music since I was like 5. Started on piano, done violin, done saxophone, done drums, I think piano, that's like at the root of a lot of stuff. But then it's like I was in a band for, 4 or 5 years. did stuff, got signed to a label and went crap, just like a lot of shit back in 2005.
Right.
And then that's where I taught myself guitar, bass, and then I kind of just got into mixing because I come from the musician side. I wanted to make my music sound better. I listened to my favorite records, but then the stuff that I was making was pure garbage. So that's how I just kind of just got into mixing. And so, found, we met through URM, to where it was like, it's an awesome community, able to learn. That's how I kind of networked. That's how we met,
Yeah.
and then just kind of behind the scenes, I was working a corporate job, and I hated that job. It sucked, and so like every day I couldn't wait till 5 o'clock, would come home and I would just work on music. Some nights I was, making coffee at midnight, and then it's like, I mean, there was one session, I think I
Late
had to
nights
be
in
at
the
work.
studio, man. I know what that's all about.
I had to be at work at 8, and I think I shut a session down at 6 in the morning when the sun was coming up. And I was like, I got to take a nap real quick.
But I mean, that's like that's a good indicator, right? Like you're doing something right if you're. I don't want to say you're sacrificing, but you kind of are, right? You're not sleeping, but
Absolutely,
it's because you love. It's because you're totally like captivated by music and the process of making music and mixing it. So
Absolutely.
why the hell weren't you doing this sooner, right?
Yeah, but I think timing is everything. Like I was just in a different spot in my life. 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So I think things happen for a reason. I'm right where I'm supposed to be because it was. They said, worked with Wade, landed an internship with him. My chair fucking just decides to just back off, and then so who knows. But but no, like it was like 3 months after I went full time with music. Because I was done with the corporate world like late March 2019, and then literally the night before Father's Day. It was like, hey, you want to come intern here for a couple, for a little bit. That was maybe like a month. Ended up being there almost 4 months.
Yeah, that's wild. So for someone that's like starting out with music, do you think it's possible to break through all the noise of being like a mixing or mastering engineer without interning under a big name producer? Or
I do. I mean, I think it depends on your level of what you're looking at. Like you can be successful and never work with a signed band or a record label ever. Like, I mean, you can make it. I mean, you might not make hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it's like, I mean, it's possible. I think, if you do the right thing, and I think if you get into this for the right reasons, you put the band first as opposed to yourself. I think that because there's an opportunity for bands to break if you're working with a good artist that is trying to trying to be themselves, trying to be their own thing. Maybe it's something that's new. You never know.
So do you think, or I guess, have you made like mistakes along the way? Like looking back at where you are now and like where you came from, were there any things that like jump out to you now? You're like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that, or I didn't take advantage of this one thing, or I wish I would have studied. I wish I would have gone to audio school. Like,
No,
is there?
No, because I really do. I'm a firm believer of like shit happens for a reason, and it's like, but I've always been since day one going against the grain. Sometimes to a fault, but where I see risk, like where some people would, I think that's I'm willing to take a gamble. I'm willing to step outside my comfort zone and just like into the unknown. It's like I don't know what's going to happen, but it's like if you think about it too much, so many people will psych themselves out. Well, hey, I don't know, the next paycheck's coming, or I don't know where this is happening, or why should I go do this? But at the end of the day, if you don't believe in you, then why the hell should anybody else?
Yeah, right. Yeah, and if you're not willing to get out of your comfort zone, and lead the way, what bands want to follow you and work with you and dedicate their time and their energy into making music?
Right,
like
exactly.
Yeah.
But I think that's the biggest thing is because it's like, depending on your situation, you might be a family man and have a family. That's how I actually got into producing. I'm a single dad. I wanted to be home for my kid all the time. I wanted to be able to go to baseball games. I want to go soccer games. And, if there was a school play or whatever, to be around. And it's like, So that's how I kind of, fell into the producing side of things is, because it's like I can't tour 3 months out of the year, or 8 months or 9. I mean, nobody's touring now, but it's like in a perfect world, like if your band's successful, you're probably out at least 200 days a year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy to think that. And if I'm not mistaken, you did have like a mini tour plan right before the pandemic broke out. Is that right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I've had 7 tours that were canceled last year, just myself.
Oh
Like,
my God.
so yeah, I was going out with New Dilemma, drumming for them. I produced them and wrote there, and then we had some, decent success on that, and ended up that was my first song of charting on the Billboard, like the rock and the rock mainstream charts and
That's so
stuff.
awesome, man.
And
Congrats.
yeah, so they signed a small deal, and then they were looking to go on tour. We were supposed to go out with Smile Empty Soul. Had a couple of plans with a bunch of different bands. It never came public, so I can't really speak upon it. But it's like there was some really cool offers, but yeah, it just like the record came out, the EP came out June 26th, and we were supposed to start on tour like a week later. Like it would have been perfect, to promo it, and just this last year happened, the world happened.
Yeah, man, I know. So I want to give a shout out. There's a lot of people that are kicking it with us tonight. So I want to remind everybody this is an interactive live stream. So go type if you have questions or want to just say hi, type away in the chat. Let us know if you're a mixer, mastering engineer, if you produce music, give us some context. This is definitely a two-way dialogue, so we'll be keeping our eyes on the comments. So don't leave us hanging. So I want to go back to what you said about when you started out. You actually didn't start playing like guitar. You didn't start.
No, like
bass,
guitar was
right?
the last thing.
Yeah,
guitar was the last thing. I did that maybe like 10, 15, 14, 15 years ago, maybe. But I just did it just as a hobby on the side, just kind of do it. I'm no shredding person, but it's like, being a drummer, I just play, rhythm kind of stuff that's syncopated, that helps me with like the writing process, when I'm working on stuff and writing or writing my own stuff or working with bands.
Yeah. Sorry if I froze. Here we go. There we go. Sorry about
there
that,
you
guys.
go.
So I was actually going to talk about that because I don't think like a good song doesn't need like a technically super proficient person playing the part, right? As long as you're coming up with the right feeling, you don't need to shred on every song.
No. And I think,
right?
Yeah,
and I feel like it gets in a lot of people's heads, like when they're learning, and especially with like metal, because metal is this like highly technical thing, and you feel like inadequate almost if you can't shred or sweep pick or do all this stuff. But the reality of it is like, is the melody good? What does it resonate with the listener? And and did you capture that? Not just, hey, I did this crazy guitar solo and we quad tracked everything,
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a big oversight. With a lot of people, you don't have to be Steve Vai or Dimebag or like all these crazy people that can play guitar. I think, like you said, I think it's more the emotion. It's kind of like the whole aspect of the song. It's not just one thing. I think that's where coming from the musician side, you're only focused on you as a musician. If you're the guitar player, you're trying to do the best guitar that you can do, but you're not looking at the bass player. You're not looking at the vocalist. You're not looking at the drummer. So it's easy on the musician side to where you focus on just one thing, your thing, but, looking at it on like a producing side, like I look at everything and it's like, it's all the pieces. It's like, if one thing, is going crazy, then the other things can maybe back off a little bit to, to go. But everybody wants to go 24/7, like all time. Like that's just a recipe for disaster. It's like you have your parts, have your swing things, but then, like you said, like it's more emotion. It's more the feel. Like who's your audience? Like what are they listening to? There's a reason why like pop music and stuff, like it's like 3 chords. But it's like, but there's the
reason there's a lawsuit every other week.
What's that?
So there's a reason there's a lawsuit every other week. You know,
Right.
it's like, oh, you stole my song. It's like, no, we just all like writing the same 3
Right.
chords,
Well, that's
same
why
chord progression.
yeah, I think a chord progression, you can't copyright that. That and like a drum beat, but it's like it's the overall body of work. But like, you know, yeah, I think it's just it's more of like a whole thing. It's connection, like and
Yeah.
that's I think the more key thing. It's like the more crazy some of the bands, like super super technical. I almost like, in my opinion, I call those like musician bands because it's like the only people that can get to it. It's like when live shows were going on, like I'd watch the crowd. Like I'm not watching the band. I know what the band's doing. But like
Yeah.
you see, like for like Meshuggah, like I love Meshuggah, but it's like you go there, like if they're not in like a 4/4 time, like most of the crowd doesn't even know what to do. So it's like when it comes down to like a beat though, but then it's like once it hits that 4/4, like it's like a natural instinct. I think there's that science behind it where like that's why like EDM and stuff is like popular. It's like it's the beat. People want to just bob. They want to have a good time.
Dude, that's huge. I mean, and I think a lot of people miss that in my experience when you have a band that's working with a producer or you have a lead songwriter in a band that kind of like has like the steering wheel in their hands. It's almost like the songs from a mixing and mastering standpoint, they mix or master themselves
Right.
because it's arranged well, right? When someone's shredding, the other people are backing away. They're supporting that, right? Our attention, just as human beings, right? We can only listen to what 2 things, like maybe.
Right.
I don't
I
know
don't
the
listen to all
psychology of
that.
it,
I
but
hear all the things. Like maybe you've lost it playing your shit too loud. I hear it. No,
yeah. But yeah, but like if you have too much going on, the listener doesn't know what to listen to. It's like if the drummer's doing some weird offbeat hi-hat thing and you have a guitar solo, it's like, well, should I be listening to the cool hi-hats or like, and it's kind of like managing someone's attention span over the course of
right.
the 3-minute song. And like
Yeah.
what makes a good producer is someone that can identify like when someone's attention would drift or when
Right.
someone's attention is not focusing on the right thing.
Well,
So
it's funny you say that because like all the bands I work with, I literally bring this up. I'm like, at the end of the day, and this is, I just call it is because it's not wondering, it's reality. Think about all the distractions, all the bullshit that's in front of you, like TV's flowing a mile a minute. Hey, there's this. Go look at this. Your phone notification. 8,000 phone notifications. There's always something. Phones beeping. This, like all this kind of shit. Like there's so many distractions. And so it really is. Like I say to all my bands, I'm like, the end user, the end person that's going to listen to this has attention span of a gnat sometimes. It's like you have to think worst case scenario. And it's like, it sounds horrible, but you have to get into that psychology. And it's like, too many times, like I see bands where it's like they'll play a riff and they love that riff. And that's like, its point being like the guitar player loves his riff and so he wants to hear it for 2 fucking minutes and it's like stop that. Like nobody wants to hear, it's like where there's no change, there's no progression, there's no build up, there's no, you know what I mean? It's like things got to go up and down and around kind of thing, for me. But it's like if you look at music and this is like my approach to like writing is like every 8 to 16 as a rule, like there should be something introduced new. It's
yes,
like, where do you take it? Do you go a little higher? Do you go a little bit lower? Do you pull something out? But something needs to change, at least every
absolutely,
little
dude.
bit.
And if you have the same chorus, in my opinion, if you have that same chorus every time, that like, why have 3 choruses? You should just have 1 chorus and then end the song. Like you have to have something building. Like add the harmonies, bring other
Right.
things, start doing
Extra ones that you don't give away the first one.
exactly.
Also
So
too,
you
like
build it all up, and then as even sometimes for me, what I find is helpful is like you might have this grand vision, the chorus, build it all out, and then
right,
take things away, and then walk backwards,
right,
right? And then tease it as you go along and the song progresses, because like you said, you hear the same thing like copy and paste, like there's no more emotional like response. Like you've already heard it, you
nobody
already
cares.
felt
Right,
that, and you want you need you're chasing that first taste of the chorus. You need a little bit more.
right, and
So
that's why like I'm a big fan of. It's not always, but it's like sometimes like the first chorus is like I'll do it like I'll cut that in half, and everybody
oh
in the
yeah,
room
yeah.
everyone in the room will be like, damn it, I want to hear that more. And I'm like, so do I. That's why it needs to go away. Because it's
Yes.
like, if you give it all away, like, you know, it's like, if you know the ending, why does it matter? You know, it's like, but
Yep.
kind of looking at that, you know, especially, you know, so you don't just have the whole thing to where, like you said, like, here's the chorus, you give a little taste of it, you get a little hook back,
Mm-hmm.
boom, where do you go from there? You know, it's like, but just not doing, because so many bands too, it's like they're doing like a double chorus on the first chorus, and it's like literally by the second time I've heard that chorus, I'm over the song.
Yeah.
You know.
So I want to point this out. We got a comment from Don who's watching right now. He says it's so funny how all of us start mixing because we want our songs to sound better, but you just find but then we find out that in the real world, you know, all of that should have happened before we even started mixing, right? So it all goes into the production and spending time with the arrangement
Yeah.
before you get to the mixing, because you have a
No.
bad
Yeah. You have nothing. You know, it really is. It's all about the arrangement. How does it flow? How's your transitions? I think those are too easily overlooked. You
yeah,
know,
and
it's like, and you can have fun in some of those and like think outside the box of like, how's this going to flow from this part to this part as opposed to just jagged, straight. It sounds like, you know, does it sound like one full song, or does it sound literally like a Lego piece of shit song that's like pieced together? You're like, where does that come from?
yeah, it's not a song, it's a guitar riffs, right?
Yeah. Like so many people have, holy shit. Like I don't think a song should have more than like 5 or 7 riffs at the very, very most. It's
Yeah,
like, you know, you want to have it to where it's similar, but it's in the same ballpark. You know, it doesn't have to be the same, but it's like you can stay in that feel of that song and like move on, you know. And I think if it's a part that people connect and they're, you know, they catch on to, then it's like they have that opportunity to connect to the song even more. You know what I mean?
absolutely, man. And I think this is a because I could sit here and talk about song structure and songwriting and producing for like, and we'll
All
probably
day.
come back around to it. But we have a good question from Will Berg. He asks, he wants to know about, as like an aspiring audio engineer, how do you get a gig interning with some of these top producers? What's that process look like? And I think what would be an easy segue would be like, how did you connect with like Andrew Wade? How did you connect with Machine and then end up with Will? Like what does
Right.
that look like?
I think first and foremost, I think it's like it really comes down to a lot of like your network. Like I have to thank, I know a few, I know there's my buddy Danny Wallen that's out of like the UK, Justine out of
Shout out to Danny.
Nashville.
Yeah.
Because I was hanging with my kid. Like that was Father's Day weekend. Me and little man were like going down to the park. Like it was a Saturday, and my phone started blowing up. And Wade had posted that he was looking for a new intern. And the funny thing was, is I tried when I was at my 9 to 5. I tried for like a year to get in. Never saw the message. Never saw it. You know, but then that's why I say like timing is everything. Like 3 months after like I went away from the corporate world, that opportunity happened. But so I had some friends that were looking out for me that day. And literally I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll message him. And then he hit me right back. And he's like, can you be here tomorrow morning? So I'm like, so my first day was like Father's Day. It was like, you know, I'm like, hey, I'll take that as a present. You know what I mean? But point being, I think is, you know, it's really just like your network and like the people you kind of know. Especially like, you know, what I found cool is like in the audio world is there's not a lot of the ego. I mean, I'm sure there is, but it's like, but there's not nearly as much as there is when it comes to the musician side of things, because you can get a singer or a drummer or different people that have different personalities that can be a lot more like, you know, a lot of the audio dudes, you know, a lot more approachable, a lot more, you know, down to, you know, you start talking, you know, you just yap for hours. Um, but I think also too, it really depends on where you live. And if you live somewhere that's just, you know, a little small town, like I was fortunate to live in Orlando. My house was 15 minutes from Wade's studio, you know, so location, 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 networking, when the world was open, we went to a couple of summits, to where audio dudes from around the world, came around. That's where I met
NAM is
Machine and
another
Mike.
great networking opportunity. Man, I met so many incredible people
Yeah,
at that.
no, for sure. But again, like taking the initiative, like most people, like like the beginning of the end, like my last year, I remember January, right before I went to NAM, like my first year going, my job was like, oh, you're taking too much time. I'm like, listen, like I didn't take time off at Thanksgiving. I didn't take shit time off at Christmas or New Year's. Like I literally was there all the time because I knew I was wanting to plan something. I had, I was doing a video shoot for Bobby's song. We were doing, a bunch of stuff, and the job was trying to tell me, no, you shouldn't go. They literally sat me in an office with HR and the VP of the goddamn company, and they're like, hey, can you shorten this? And I'm like, here's the reality. Like, I see that you say this is a, vacation request form. I look at this as a courtesy of telling you when the fuck I'm not going to be here.
Right.
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you what I'm doing. But that's the difference is like so many people in that position, maybe you're not fortunate enough to do that, to have that to where if you lose that job, you might lose everything you have. So it's like, I get that. But at the same time, I'm willing to take that risk because it's like I knew it. The minute I got there, see Billy Decker, he hired me to do drums for an EP he was working on, and just from there,
That's
it
right. I
just
forgot
goes.
about that. Shout out to
Yeah,
Billy,
like
man. What an amazing
yeah.
person.
Oh, dude, he's amazing. But I think that's the thing is like putting yourself in that position, going and meeting the people when the world opens back up, and it's like now find the online communities like what you're doing, like URM, like all these places, like it's a great thing to find, and I think to long story short, to answer that question, I think it's really just start meeting people, start talking to people, start expanding your network, especially outside of your town. And like if you are in a small spot, reach out to these people. Like a lot of these producers, I know guys from Florida that went to Oregon to do different things, and people are going all over. Anthony from New York went down to work with what's it,
Taylor
Taylor
Larson.
Larson.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were hanging out back in September, so it's like
Right.
be willing to go if so, so just take that chance, reach out to somebody and say, hey, I'm looking for an internship if you really want to do it.
Yeah. And I think the other thing to keep in mind too is when you are reaching out to these producers, do it from an honest place, right? You're there to help. You're there because you want to learn. You're not there to just like show up so you can blow up your social media with like, look who I'm working with, right? It needs to come from a genuine place because these people at the end of the day, these producers have a job to do and they're looking for a team and you are part of the team. So make sure you're pulling your weight, show up on time, show up early,
Right.
and if you're valuable and you're not, you're fun to hang out with, you're fun to work, quote unquote, work with, as you're doing music, then why would they ever get rid of you? I mean, that's
Right.
right. I mean, Ben's
That's
said it
really
full
what,
time,
yeah, that's
it's
just
like,
as important too, is not being that like standoffish, like don't make the room uncomfortable because you don't know how to hang out. Like, and that's the thing too, is like be aware that all right, if you let's say you land an internship with one of these people, then now all of a sudden like maybe your favorite band walks through the door. How the fuck are you gonna act? Like you're gonna fangirl out, you know what I mean? Like are you gonna just be like, hey, all right, cool, good to see you. You know what I mean? So
right.
you gotta act like you've been there before too. Like you
You guys
said,
want
it's
some
like
coffee? Like,
right, but not making it weird.
right.
It's like everybody's just a person. You know what I mean? It's like it is what it is. So what? It's all
Exactly.
just what
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's what you need to keep in mind is like, at the end of the day, we're all human beings. Like,
right.
it's no different. I may work like
This
by
goddamn
doing
chair.
science, or you may work by doing something else. But these guys work by recording, screaming into a microphone, or rapping on
Right.
a track, or whatever. So at the end of the day, like they're gonna go home and they're gonna get their oil changed in their car, and like it's just like a
Right.
normal thing. And
Yeah.
so yeah, just keep it real, man.
Yeah.
uh,
No, that's the biggest thing is like that. And then, like you said, being able to help. And then, you know, being able to admit when you don't know something. Like, I think that's key too. Like, Like when, for instance, like when I was working for Wade, worked with him for 2 months, interned under him, and then how I actually met Will was Will came down to Orlando to work out the compound when he was working on a song for A Day to Remember that just came out, track 4. I think it is, on their new record, but I got to sit in the room with those guys and watch that whole process being, going on. But just being, the opportunity, it worked out, the timing was there, and just, being able to see, but then like, watching that whole process, just like, was great. So I'm in there in front of Jeremy McKinnon, Neil, and Kevin from Day to Remember, and it's just Will. And it's like day 2, and Will's like, "Hey man, I need you to do this, run this into this, and run this over here into here, and all these places." And I'm like, "Man, I don't know what the fuck you want me to do. Like, here's the reality. Like, I mix in the box. I don't have any analog gear. Like the 2 months that I was there with Wade, Wade never touched any of his analog gear. Like it was just the DI, and that was it. Like there was nothing. And so I just stopped him and said, "Hey man, would love to do, but I don't know what the fuck I'm doing." And he's like, "All right." Looked over at the guys and they remember. He's like, "Hey, give me just a second." And literally stopped and showed me how to do
That's
what all
awesome,
that he
man.
was looking to do. And he was also like, "Thank you for not fucking this up, because I've had a few people that have done that and it's not a good thing." It's like, and that's, I think, is like being able to admit, regardless of where it is or how, the spot is, like, just know your limits and just be willing to say, hey, because that's the whole point of why you're there.
Right. You're there to learn. Like,
Yeah.
stop pretending. Because if
Yeah. I
you
don't know
pretend, I
shit.
mean,
That's why
you're
I'm
never gonna
here.
learn anything.
Right.
You know?
It's all about the
So
attitude.
yeah, so I have to ask some questions about your time with Andrew Wade and then with Will. I have a feeling that every producer does things differently. Is there anything that was like really eye-opening for you, like for your first internship when you were with Andrew Wade, that changed your perspective or your process as a producer?
Oh, absolutely. There was so much. It goes hand in hand, because honestly, there was a lot of things that we do exactly the same. Like there was a lot. Like holy shit, there was a lot.
Just that
So
satisfaction of knowing that you're like,
so that
right?
already gave me, so all right, cool. So like yeah, it gave me, all right, I'm on the right, you know, way. But there was a lot of stuff too that just came into, that was like eye opening, because it's like, especially coming from a musician side, like his attention to detail, like he's an amazing writer, but his attention to detail with vocals, it was fucking unbelievable. And that's where like I started seeing, all right, hey, there's something here. And we started having conversations when we would go to lunch, and then I started buying books, like bought these different like vocal books and like different keys and different tools and different things of like, you don't use resources, find it, have that old school thesaurus, or look at your phone, or do shit like, there's so many things that are out there that are good for writing, but it also depends on too, it's like your situation. It's like, are some people mixing, maybe they're not doing that, but if you're working with bands, you need to be upfront, work with that singer, because if you think about, that was the attention to detail on the lyrics, because at the end of the day, that's the first connection. Like, yeah, the beat, you can have all this, but like when people connect with that meaning behind that, I think that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. And so just the attention to detail towards lyric and the songwriting process.
Hmm.
Was there, did you have a similar experience with how they mixed the songs as well? Is there, or editing, or is that all, it doesn't matter, or does
It's
it? I don't know.
really, again, it's all that shit's so subjective. Like,
Right.
what do you want? Like, what is your goal? What is the band's goal? What is the style of music? And I think that's the problem. Like so many people, it's like a one size fits all, and they try to force fit every little thing that they work on or what they do into this tiny box. And it's like, I'm all for, like template stuff, but it's like at the end of the day, like I do a lot of top down mixing, so I have like my mastering chain and all that kind of stuff. So it's like it's already kind of close to where it's going to be. So it's like I know the sound that I want to go. We can figure that out right there. Depending on how you edit. If you edit it tight to the grid, maybe it loses its feel. It
Yeah.
doesn't. Then it sucks the life out of it. So it's like I think that just grows as your ear is trained and like things to look at. And I think you can do so much on that on your own. Just pay attention, just listen to things, and just learn, on
Yeah, or
that.
if you hear something you like take a second and dissect it, right? Like,
Right.
why do I like this song? Is it because it's loose, like on the grid? Is it because it's the lyrical connection? Like, what is it about the song? Is it the arrangement? And use that as a learning tool to make better music. Like,
Right.
it's man, we can go so deep into this.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a big topic, but it's
Yeah.
but it's awesome though. You know what I mean? But it really is. It's like you can dive so far into it.
Yeah. So we have another question. This one is right on the topic we're talking about right now with Miguel, and it's while you were interning with Will and Andrew, do you think you learn more about the songwriting side of something or the engineering side? Which I think is a awesome
Definitely the
question.
songwriting.
Yeah.
Definitely the songwriting side. That was the main focus. I mean, so when I worked with Wade, I worked with him. We recorded a couple of records. We did a Felicity record, and then the Misfortune record that came out, I think last year. Mikey got to hang out with him for like a month. He's a great dude. We were just actually talking the other day. So those records were recorded there, but they weren't. I wasn't there for the mixing because I'd left by the time both of those come down to that. When I worked with Will, he was down. He did the song with the Day to Remember, but he didn't actually even mix that one. We finished it down in Florida, and then the Ghost Inside came in, and then worked with those guys for about 4.5 weeks, I think it was. But then they were just finishing pre-pro, so I was there only for the songwriting. So I was watching them write that whole record, and then they went up as soon as they were done in Florida. They went back up to Jersey and finished it up at Will's up here. So
Nice.
both of those I wasn't like around for like the actual like mixing. It was more, but I think that's the key. Like if you don't have a good song, like the mixing and mastering doesn't matter. Like and I'm all
Exactly.
for
Because no one's
it.
gonna hear it.
Right. And honestly, I think a good song, a great song can survive a shit mix, but a shit song
Mm-hmm.
cannot survive a perfect mix. It's like it really is. I think that's where my focus, like even years ago, I'm like I come from the musician side of things, come from the songwriting side of things. It's like let me focus on that even more so, and that just gave me all the answers I needed watching them, the attention to detail.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. Like, what's funny that you say all those things. I also feel like after you like start mixing more seriously and you're making music and you go and critically analyze some of your favorite old songs that you remember sounding like so amazing, and you listen
It
to it and you're like,
sucks.
yeah, you're like, I would never mix it like this. This doesn't sound good.
It's
But
full.
but is you had that connection to the song, and it doesn't matter if you like the mix or not. It still sounds
No.
amazing to you, and it means so much to you because you're connected to it on such a deep level because the songwriting was right there.
Right.
And it just goes to show, like, Andrew Wade spends so much time on songwriting, right? I mean, the Ghost Inside spent 4 weeks on
And that
what
was
that
their second. That was their second pre-pro writing session.
yeah,
So
see?
we're talking like months that they were, a span, of doing that. And it's like take the time. Some people write fast. Maybe some people put out a couple of songs, a week, and that's cool. Like, it doesn't matter. But it's like, but are there things that you can make that a little bit better? Like, what's your goal? And I think that's the thing too. Is like, what is your goal? Like, you can be in so many different aspects. Is it radio? Is
Yep.
it being on, just I want artist integrity? Then cool. Then no rules, have fun. You know, it's like it really is case dependent on what the goal is. I think that's up to the band.
Yeah, yeah, man. That's you hit a home run there. So was there anything that was very different between the way Will and Andrew approach like the songwriting or mixing? I guess you haven't really gotten to see a lot of mixing, but is there? Did you notice any
It was
differences
creepy
between the
how
two styles?
similar they were. It was
Ah, okay.
creepy how, yeah, like
So there's a formula to this, is what you're saying.
there is. I mean, there was a difference, you know, in how they worked, but their goal and the importance of vocals was spot on. You know, also too, it depends. Like, you know, it's really case dependent on what singer or like what band you're using, because maybe one band you have and the singer is a fantastic songwriter, and so he already brings up everything, you know what I mean, and has it, and then they go back and forth. But then there's some other times where maybe you're writing from scratch, like, and so then now all the minds get together and you start doing, so it really is, you know, but there's different ways. But I think the more that you know, especially as a producer, the more that you know about the writing side, how to connect with, you know, a singer, I think having that trust, I think that's the biggest key, is like you have to have the trust with your band, because if they don't trust you, they're not going to open up to you. And if they don't open up to you, you're not going to get that feeling. And I think, you know, my way of looking, and this is just my assessment on stuff, you know, thinking about this, because it's like the psychology behind it. Think about, you know, 99% of the time, the singer is writing about himself. He's writing about
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
personal experience or something, but yet he knows that, and he knows that the rest of the world knows that this shit's about him. So all eyes on you. So what does your mind do? You know, it goes into protect mode. And I
Right.
think that's the biggest thing, is like, so then, and most people, like some old school people, they write it down. We say shit so much faster than we write it down. And so, and it's taking pen to paper, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, you know, you have that moment, and your brain is able to protect you, and so you might not dive in deep as you probably should.
Yeah,
You
you're
know,
and then it loses a personal connection to the listener, right? Because that's
Mhm.
surface level.
Right,
You're missing that deep emotional
right.
connection,
You-
and you
You're
have to like
writing, you're writing
yeah.
an entire verse and a half about, hey, I have something to say. Well, then fucking say it. Like it's that simple. It's like, if they, you know, don't give me 15 lines of why, you know, did you go away?
Oh, I'm right here. I'm just messing with you, man. Sorry. I didn't mean to distract you. I was hoping it would
Yeah,
just
no,
focus
it's
on
fine.
you.
I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna just yap. I'm like, all right, you just went away, you froze. But no, but I think, you know, it just, I don't even know where I was thinking. That was your fault. Way to go.
Oh man, you're talking about 15 lines, you're getting them to write and yeah, just trying to
Oh
get
yeah,
the
I know,
vocals
but
to open up.
I think, you know, the fear of um being personal. So that's why I kind of think like South Park, like a lot of the episodes, like we know what they're talking about, but they're running that parallel line. And
Mm.
so it's like, how can we twist these? And I think it's a perspective, you know, of how you write about that. And so it's like, you know, talking with the singers. So like, I literally talk with all my singers. Like I have an interview, you know, talk, hey, what is this about? Thankfully, like I can type fast as shit. So I literally jump
That's
on
that
Google
corporate
Docs.
world job.
Yep. But I jump on Google Docs. Oops. You know, I jump on Google Docs. I make, you know, and then I just start talking. What's the song about? Why is this? How does that make you feel? You know, and just literally just diving into the subject. And I tell them, hey, it's, you know, it's not leaving this room, but it's, you know, and I'll dive in with them. And, you know, there's been times, there's tears in the room. You know, I've seen that even when I was working with Wade. Like there was, and that's where that clicked with me. I'm like, holy shit. Like, but that's where I say, like, the trust. If you're just looking at this, you know, as a job, you don't give shit, you're not connecting with your band, you don't have that relationship with them, or you're not that guy, this isn't going to work. It's just not going to. But you have, you know, but the stuff that comes out, because then they'll talk, and then I just start typing. I just go every line, like, Oh, how'd that make you feel? Oh, it made me da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's already there. Like not even thinking, just literally having an interview just like we're doing. And before you
Yeah.
know it, I have 2 pages of notes and things and phrases that they've even said that are fucking cool, that a lot of times make the song or the record, and it's like, and then what happens is after the fact, they know what they've been through, but then I share that with them. They write it, they go through it, and then it's amazing how they connect because then they're seeing shit that they would have never written, so
Right.
it's like, it's the same thing. It's like I think about this, like if I asked you right now, write a paragraph describing you in the best way possible, how would that make you feel?
Like garbage, man. Like
It
I hate
sucks.
writing about myself. Like it
Right,
sucks.
but write a
It's
paragraph
awkward.
about write a paragraph about your wife. Write a
Oh,
paragraph about your best friend, your
exactly. Yeah, that's
parents,
not a problem.
it takes 2 seconds. And so if you think about that, what is the singer doing? They're writing about themselves, probably in the shittiest way possible, depending on who they are.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but it's
Right.
reality because there's more behind it. It's not a personal thing. It's literally the psychology behind it.
Yeah.
And so when you realize that, and then if you can go and you can be that person of trust, and you can get that back and forth with the person that you're working with, that's huge.
Man. So, do you think that's what makes a good producer? Is it maybe like like musicality aside, do you think the number one thing that really makes like record labels always go to these producers because they deliver on something that connects with their audience, and it's they're getting like music that comes from such a honest and innocent place?
That could, yeah, I would say so, because there's an attention to detail. I think there's the whole thing. So it's like, all right, now there's, we get decent songs, we're getting good songs out of this, we're getting good
Mhm.
production, and then oh, it sounds great at the end of the day. It's like it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, yeah. So how would you rank like the order of importance, like in terms of the song? So like we'll do like songwriting, mixing, mastering. Um, I don't know where I was really going with this. There's only 3 choices that I came up with, but like songwriting is always number one,
Yeah,
right?
because
And
everything else
then
doesn't matter.
so yeah, mixing and mastering is almost
Like it
irrelevant at
doesn't
that
even
point.
matter. Like you can polish a turd, but at the end of the day, it's a piece of shit. Like it just, it's like that's, if it's not, if there's no connection, there's no groove, there's no, I think songwriting first and foremost, then editing and like your tuning skills, because you need to make it as if there wasn't any. Because if you're any good, you can't tell that it was edited.
Yeah.
You can't tell that it was tuned. It's not. We're not looking for T-Pain. We're not looking for, hey, look, we're doing this. At least in our world.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that comes secondary because that's where the money is. Like I think really like the time, the attention to detail, because let's admit it, like no person is perfect. You're never going to get a flawless 100% flawless performance ever. So it's like, so there
Yeah.
needs to be some manipulation, knowing how to do it, to where nobody knows, but then also knowing when not to do it.
Right. That's huge, especially when there's like little nuances of someone's voice
Mm-hmm.
that, like or like a slight crack or something where it's like, yeah, that was a mistake, but that is what evokes like the emotion in that
Right.
phrase. Like
There's that
leave it.
that's human
Don't
feel.
touch it.
Right.
Right. When I hear that, like I feel something from that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's amazing. And I love that you put editing and like tuning above the mixing and mastering, because what does that tell you? The editing and the tuning and all that is reinforcing the goal of the song, right? We
Right.
edit and tune to enhance the feel of the song. If something is sloppy to the point where it's a distraction, then we better fix it, right?
It's not, yeah, it's not going to work. That, and then what do you hear on the radio? What do you hear on major releases? What do you hear that's out there? Let's be real. It is perfectly tuned, perfectly
Right.
edited, perfectly gridded, perfectly, not necessarily gridded because it has the feel, but like, and then flawless mixes. And so at the end of the day, your band that you're producing, their listeners, yeah, it might be a local band, but their fans, 99.9% of their day, listen to mainstream or professionally produced records. So their standards is there. So if your shit isn't as loud or it's not even close, that's where there is so much importance on the mixing side.
Mhm.
Like I said, songwriting's already like like all these tiers are like way, way, way up. You know what I mean? But it's like, but you know, first and foremost, just a formula. Maybe like I said, if you're looking more mainstream, then as a formula, you need 345, and that's it. Like that's the limit. If you're, the entry level of length of a song, you're not Metallica, you're not Pink Floyd, you're not going to get those 7-minute spots.
Yeah,
And
and
so
I imagine it's gonna keep getting shorter and shorter. If your goal is radio, like, length of song and song structure is gonna be really important. Then
yeah,
you need to start looking at tempo
yeah,
and
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. That and I think like pop songs are even getting shorter. They're like, aren't they in like the 2 minute and change
220-ish,
on
yeah.
some stuff? Like people are
Mhm.
literally doing like a verse, a little thing, and a chorus, and a verse, and a chorus, and they're out.
Yeah.
You
Because
know,
like you said, it invites the listener to play it again, right? And if
right?
we're into
And that's yeah.
conspiracy
We all
theories,
want to
right?
hear it
Let's
longer.
talk about
Like I do too. Like that's why I laugh. I'm like, it's a good part if you want to hear it longer, and that's why you don't do it.
Exactly, man. You just cut it off. So, no, that's awesome. So we've had a lot of people. So I want to give some shout outs. Shout out to Anthony. Shout out to Justine said hi. She said
What
great stuff.
up?
Tim talks audio, says he's late, but he's
Awesome.
pumped to be here. And then Grant Clements is back in the house,
Grant
baby.
motherfucking
He says
Clements.
great stuff.
Nice.
We have
Yeah,
a
he
few
moved to
more.
Florida. I never got to see him, and then it's like
Yeah, and then
he was
you
like an
guys.
hour and a half, and then I'm like, here I go up here. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah. Well, you guys have to. You'll go back to Orlando at some point.
Oh, of course.
So yeah, you'll have to reconnect then. Don actually has a question, something that I was really interested in, because
Okay.
this is something I struggle with all the time. And he asks, how do you, I can barely read these things. How do you balance your studio and your home life, essentially? So Don
What
has
home
2
life?
boys, and he feels like he's torn between hanging with his family and knowing that he's got tons of shit to do because he's trying to hustle, trying to come up in this world. And it's crowded and everybody's going grabbing for whatever they can. So do you have any advice for someone who's trying to balance all this stuff out?
Yeah, I
It's hard,
think
man.
because I did that. Like there was a time I was going back to school. I got my degree in business management and finance while I was doing music stuff. So I was doing like 3 things, doing the single dad thing. Um, for me, I had my son half the time. So that opened up half my week. So I was, I used my time wisely on that. But there was times even when I got busy when I had my kid, like when I got home from work, I prioritized family. I prioritized, hanging out, going to the pool, doing whatever. And so it's like,
Mhm.
so do those. I think, my best advice would be is taking the time after you put the kids to bed. If you have 2 hours or you have 3 hours, being like very direct with what you have to do. Like, don't dilly dally. Like, all right, I got to go edit this and like get in that mode. Put the fucking phone down. Put the TV down. You know what I mean? Like all those things. And it's like, because I did so much stuff like after 11 o'clock. Like there'd be times, like I said, I'd be up to like 3 or 4. It's like it's not the best thing, but it's like for a situation like that, if you have a lot of stuff between work, like literally put family first, especially the kids. It's like they're only going to be that age like once. It's like my son just turned 13 and it's like where
It's
the hell does
wild,
time
right?
go?
Where'd the
And
time
it's
go,
like
man?
it's ridiculous. So it's like enjoy every bit that you can. And then, whether maybe you're a morning person. So like spend the time, go to bed with the family, but then get up at 4. Maybe you have 4 hours before you go to work that day. But it's like you got to find it. But I think if you sacrifice the family stuff, and not get on that, or something's going to suffer. So it's like you're going to have to just burn that midnight oil.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. And it took me so long to figure that out. Just the importance of having some sort of regular life and blocking time for the family, blocking time for your friends and that social group.
Yeah.
Because if you start burning those bridges because, or you feel guilty, when you start feeling
Right.
guilty about hanging out with your friends, that's when you got to really start thinking like maybe this isn't worth it. Because what is the game plan here? Like
Right.
if you can only, I'm a firm believer that there's not very many people on this earth that can just dedicate everything to their business and just disregard family, friends, everything like that. And what ends up happening, at least for me, is I start getting more and more unproductive. I start getting distracted by things, or I feel like I'm just tired of this, and the time it takes me to complete a task doubles. And
Hmm.
had I just spent that time hanging out with my friends the night before, or seeing my family, or spending time with the kids or a dog or whatever, like
Right.
that time like it pays forward like your ability to keep grinding and like motivating you to keep doing what you're doing on the side.
Yeah.
And I
That balance is key, I think,
yeah.
for sure.
And I think
Do you-
I think that's the thing you need to look for is when you start feeling guilt about certain things like that, you know?
Right. And that's where, and it's hard to say, like, like, because each situation is so different. Like I said, like mine was, like I said, I had half my days to myself. So I literally jam packed as much. That's why, like, I got off at work at 5. I've been, I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have anything. I had the house literally at 5:05. I had bands at my house. Like, and I would just work and I would just go and then rinse, wash, repeat. Like, that was just what I did. But that was my situation.
Right.
Somebody that's married, if you're in a good situation, you're in a good, family situation. I think, talking to your wife, talking to your husband,
Yes.
that communication,
Absolutely.
if they truly support you and love you and want you to do what you need to do, then maybe you say, hey, you know what? All right, every Tuesday and Thursday, I'm going to do this, but Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like we're doing family stuff. Like
Yep.
maybe that works for you. So, maybe a communication thing on that, you know, if you don't have that opportunity or you're a single parent, maybe you have your kid all the time, like then that's just, you're gonna have to get up early or you're just gonna have to do shit late. I mean, that's just all there is to it.
Right.
You gotta find that time. But I think, it just really depends on each person's situation.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to find what works for you. And
Right.
there's a dangerous spiral that can happen when you're in this game where you go on your social media and you start doing this thing where you compare yourself to other people and then you feel obligated to do what they're doing because they're doing something, you
Right.
know? Do what works for you. Don't
It's not
worry
gonna, yeah.
about Instagram. Don't worry about TikTok. Like, if that's not fun for you, why are you wasting your time doing it? Because you saw someone on your newsfeed doing it and they had maybe some mild success doing it. Like, it's not a sustainable thing, and everybody's
Right.
life's different. Find out what makes
Right.
you happy, double down, and get rid of all the crap that is just sucking time. I mean, that
Yeah. And
alone is huge.
yeah. I think it's all perspective, that, and then, like, if you really want to look in, like, it'd be amazing if you stop and like be honest with yourself and like write down, let's say, like, what note down like everything you do. So you got home, all right, spent 15 minutes scrolling on Facebook because you just saw something and then you got in the trap.
Got a
And
loop,
then,
baby.
then you cook dinner and then you do that. And then it's like, look how much time that you might have that day. But it's really, it depends. It's like, if you want it bad enough, like you'll find a way, as opposed to trying to find shit to do. It's like you'll be hungry and just you'll make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think, yeah, definitely the biggest thing is find the holes that are the
Mhm.
time sucks that are leaking, all they're just eating away all your time,
Yep.
and kill those. And if you haven't turned your notifications off yet, I shouldn't tell you to do that because then you won't get notifications when I go live, but turn those off, man.
No,
Like,
I think
it's
just
amazing.
just be aware of it. Be aware that
Right.
it's like you don't have to keep up with the Joneses. You don't have to do this, and like if you look at somebody, hey, they're doing something and something great happened, instead of being bitter about it, look like, holy shit, all right, it's possible. It can happen. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's all your mindset. You gotta be open. You gotta see it.
Yeah. Oh, it's been an hour, man.
Has it been an hour already?
It's been an hour.
Well, you got curfew?
I'll end with Danny. Danny's got a good question. We'll wrap this thing up. He wants to know what your
I'm in
goals
no
are
hurry.
looking
It's
like.
up to you. Unless you got a curfew, you gotta. This is your hour, and then
I'm booking time so I can do what I love to do. I got nothing. But Danny's asking, what are your goals for this year, man?
Definitely.
I'm curious. I want to know what's going on. What's going on in the back of Ben's mind here?
Right. I need one of my bands to get a plaque like that. I would love to see a band somehow, some way, make some moves, and that would be cool. Just because it's like being here. Will's like, dude, there's so much shit around everywhere, and he just won a Grammy when I was
Yeah,
up here.
congrats to Will for that.
Like,
that's amazing, dude. Is that his first? That's his first Grammy, right?
Yep, his first
dude,
one.
Well deserved, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like when it came through, like I was mixing in my room, and I'm like, oh, hold on a second. Literally just walked to the other room. Congratulations. And then we had sushi, and then we worked all night. So
yeah.
it's like
back to
back to the grind. But
that's right.
No, I think I would love that. Would be cool. I just want to get better. Like definitely get better at mixing. Like that's the thing. It's like obviously, like really just focus, just be better all around. Like just taking my time wisely. Like I've literally been here every day since I moved. Like we've taken 0 days off, and I don't care. Like I don't want to not be here. Like the other day, he's like, "Hey, just take the day off." I'm like, "All right, cool." Looked at the weather; it was like raining. I think I'm just gonna come. And then he was gonna take the day off, and then we just both worked. It's like
classic.
But it's like, but it really doesn't feel like work. That's the thing. Is like, yeah, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of like long days. Like I get in here at 9 a.m. sometimes. I leave at 3, 4 a.m. sometimes. It's like, whatever. Like I'm here, just to work, do whatever. And I just want to get better, just to take everything in, because it's like now I get to be here from the session prep to the editing and stuff behind the scenes, to the tuning, to the writing sessions, to the mixing sessions. So now I'm just literally seeing so many records being worked on in person, and also remotely mixing and stuff. And it's like I just want to get better. I'm ready to kick ass and take names.
That's what's up, man. Ben, where can people find out more about you? Like what are some socials that people can connect if they want to touch base with you or follow you?
I'm on Instagram, Ben Johnson 1323. You find me on Facebook. Same thing. I have a Facebook page. It's Ben Johnson 1323. I have a website as well, benjohnson1323.com. If anybody wants to reach out, like I am taking on like mixing, jobs. I'm producing some bands. A lot of it's probably going to have to be remotely right now, just given the situation and schedule. But there's a lot I can offer, even just through Skype sessions and just like, different things. So if somebody's interested on that, reach out anytime. Message me on Instagram, Facebook, whatever.
Yeah, man. Take advantage of it. Send Ben a what's up, a thank you for sharing his thoughts today. This has been incredible. I hope you guys got a lot out of it. I know I did. I need to talk to you more often, Ben. Like this has been
we'll have to make that happen soon. We have some plans, so we'll have to see that through.
That's right, man. Well, I want to thank all of you guys for hanging out with us tonight. And if you don't know, I also have a YouTube channel. If you're not watching from YouTube, it's Raytown Productions. So just search that, you'll find me. I have a lot of mixing and mastering tutorials on there. So if you're interested in that perspective of it, not necessarily the songwriting side, definitely spend some time on there. There's a lot of good stuff. And with that, I want to wrap this up. We'll be going, I have another live stream in 2 weeks. So stay tuned for that. I will post that when I find out who my next guest is. Just got to confirm some dates, and then we'll go from there. So thank you guys all. You are amazing. Ben, you're the man. Keep
It was a
hustling.
pleasure, man.
Give Will a high five for me. Just he doesn't know who I am. Just tell him Bobby says hi and just.
Well, he knows. Well, he knows about the coffee, so that shit was good.
That's what.
So appreciate
Awesome,
that,
man.
man.
Yeah,
sure.
of course,
So,
of course.
But yeah, man.
So,
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. Anytime, man.
thank you.
So.
All right, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your week and enjoy the weekend. And I'll see you guys on the next live stream.